Here's the definition that I like about self-care. Self-care includes any intentional actions you take to care for your physical, mental, and emotional health. Good self-care is a challenge for many people, and it can be especially challenging for survivors of interpersonal violence and abuse. It can also be an important part of the healing process. Self-care is unique for everyone. Why do I care about self-care? Why does this matter to me? So I was a pastor. Jason mentioned I was a pastor when I nearly died by suicide. It will be 6 years next month. I was dealing with depression and anxiety and PTSD from childhood abuse when I was a preschooler. Had been raised in the church and never told that I had permission to see a therapist or counselor, that I should do that. Unfortunately, the way I was raised, the answer was always Jesus. Am I allowed to say that in front of the cross? But for real, that's the way I was raised. Now, let me explain what I mean. I'm not saying Jesus is not the answer for everything. Jesus is a great answer for a whole lot of things. But I think that Jesus would encourage us to take care of ourselves and to go see a doctor and to go to the counselor when you need to. And to understand, especially when we're talking about stuff like mental health, if you have a diagnosis or you think you might have a diagnosis of depression or bipolar or anxiety or all the other lists of things that are possible, you should probably go get that checked out and not be ashamed of it, because, anybody can get cancer. Anybody can get high blood pressure or high cholesterol. Well, mental health, it's a disease just like anything else. And so we've got to strip away the stigma. We've got to be able to talk about it openly from the pulpit in front of the cross and say, you know what? Yes, Jesus will save your soul, and the doctor might save your life. And that's okay. Finally went to my primary care physician, my family doctor, and said, I'm not okay. I need help. I don't know what this means, but I'm explaining all these symptoms. And she said, let's start you on this little black pill right here. And so I started an antidepressant, anti-anxiety med, and it started helping immediately. A lot of times it'll take 2 weeks. Sometimes it'll take 6 weeks, but I could feel a difference in a week. I felt like I could breathe a little bit. I felt my shoulders lower a little bit. And boy, that was a good thing. So the first step towards practicing better self-care is to slow down. Slow down. You don't have to do all the things. And you sure don't have to do all the things today. So consider, what is one thing you could take off of your plate today to give yourself space to breathe. I want to adopt a baby, or finish a degree, or write that book, or go to Europe, or form a nonprofit, or record an album, or start a podcast. These are all these things that I want to do. But because I'm doing all these things that I don't want to do, or all these things that I feel pressured to do but don't want to do, I don't have the time or the space or the energy to do the things I really want to do that just might make me come alive, that might change somebody's life. You're probably going to have to set some boundaries. You're probably going to disappoint somebody. You're probably going to make somebody mad. Probably going to have some uncomfortable conversations. But if you feel like you're drowning, if you feel like you can't catch your breath, if you feel like, wow, life is happening to me and not for me, life is controlling me and I'm not in control of my life, then you got to do some of these uncomfortable things. These are affirmations that when you are struggling, when you feel bogged down, these are really good reminders. I have the right to rest. I told you, this is going back to that mental health thing. Take a mental health day. You're not telling a lie when you take a sick day because you're just absolutely stressed to the max and you can't possibly work today. Take a mental health day. I give you permission. I have the right to say no and stand up for myself. Y'all, no is not a 4-letter word. It's a 2-letter word. No. You can say no, I promise. I have the right to start over. If you have blown it, you have the right to start over. Everybody gets a second chance. I promise. I'm on, I don't know, billionth or something. Yeah, it's this little thing called grace. I don't know, Jesus talked about it a time or two. We all get it. We all get grace, and grace is messy. Life is messy, right? Parenting and recovering from the things that have wounded us. It's all really messy. And here's the cool thing. So there's the one cross, but there were two more. So you got the one cross on the other side. That guy was really mad, like bad chip on his shoulder. It was pretty rough. And he said some not so nice things to Jesus. Then you got the other guy who says, hey, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And I think, what a great way to look at grace, that here I am in the middle of, like, this is the worst day of my life. You know, there's like railroad spikes through my wrist. This is a bad day. I am nailed up here. I don't have a cloth on. I know we put them on in the Easter place, but I'm nailed up here for everybody seeing it all. I'm dying. This is it. Worst day of my life. And he turns right over there, and there's Jesus, right in the middle of the mess with it. So, whatever your cross is, whatever your mess is, turn right over there, and I promise you, if you look just a little bit, you'll find Jesus right there in the middle of that mess. So, we've all been through some kind of living hell in our lives, probably. We all know how hot it is, how miserable, how unbearable it is. And when we approach our lives and the lives of those around us with compassion and understanding, we choose to create heaven where there has previously been hell.